Chapter 16. Slow-drifting cloudbanks masked a buttercup-hued half-moon in the spring night. Somewhere off in the distant trees a nightjar chirred its nocturnal melody. At the south wall gate, Skipper withdrew the bolts of the little door in the wall. The mouse gatekeeper, Brother Gordale, eased the door back on its well-oiled hinges. Skipper patted his niece's cheek affectionately. "Be a good young maid now. Watch out for Sister Armel and that sword. Dear me." Even Brookie knew that this was no time for laughter. She pressed her uncle's big paw. "Don't worry, I'll keep an eye on them both," Humble assured Sister Armel.
"We'll be watching every day for your return. Go now, and may good fortune smile upon you both."
The little wall door closed quietly as the two hooded and cloaked figures ventured off into the darkness. Armel and Brookie went quickly over the small area of grassland which skirted the south wall. They headed for the path which curved through Mossflower Wood. Outside of the abbey, everything looked different without the blessing of sunlight. Armel shuddered.
"I've only been outside the abbey a few times, and they're not far, either gathering herbs or for picnics when I was small. It feels very lonely out here with just each other for company."
Brookie stifled a titter, trying her best to sound confident.
"You stay close to me and you'll come to no harm, pal. I've been twice to the North Shores in the summer with Uncle Skip and his crew. I'm used to this sort of thing, you know."
She tripped on a rock and went headlong into a pile of broom. Armel could not help chuckling as she took hold of Brookie's paw.
"Up you come now, mate. Are you all right?"
The stout otter maid shot up immediately.
"Right as rain, Donkey. I wish that moon would keep still and stop dodging behind the clouds. The cloak's a nuisance too. Can't take a step without it tripping me."
They made the path without further incident and followed it south for a while. Armel began getting used to the dark.
"Watch the ditch on your right side, Brookie. Hold on to the tick while I fix this sword."
Brookie helped her friend adjust the sword, which was wrapped in a sheath of soft bark cloth. She fixed it so the blade hung flat down Armel's back beneath her cloak, away from prying eyes. The otter maid took charge of both their food packs, toting them easily over one shoulder.
"Yeah, I'll carry these. You take care of the sword, pal."
Armel smiled gratefully.
"Thanks, mate. Friar Gleeson said that he thought of some travelling rations especially for us, stuff that doesn't need cooking. He said there's a full meal in each piece. Oh, and Burlop Cellarhog gave us a flask of a recipe he's invented to save carrying too much weight."
Brookie flexed her shoulder.
"Feels light enough. What is it?"
Armel explained.
"A syrup made from boiled down fruit juices and honey. Burlop says you only have to add water to it, and it'll make a sweet, nourishing drink. Good, eh?"
The otter maid commented doubtfully.
"I'll let you know after I've tried it, and we better cut off west into the trees. This path runs mainly south."
Armel agreed.
"Good idea, but how do we cross the ditch?"
Brookie suddenly regained her sense of fun.
"The best plan will be to jump over it, because we can't very well jump under it. Here goes."
She took a short run and jumped, making the other side with ease.
"See that, Armel? It should have been born a bird, really. I just flew over. Your turn now. Ready, steady, jump."
The squirrel maid took a short run at the ditch, but at the crucial moment of jumping, her footpaw became snarled in her cloak hem. With a small cry of dismay, she plunged headlong into the ditch. Her otter friend came swiftly to the rescue.
"Oh, bad luck, pal. Stay there. I'll get you out."
She slid down into the ditch, which was deeper than she had thought it would be. The moon came from behind the clouds, throwing a pale light down to illuminate the scene. Armel was flat on her back, almost rigid with fright as she called out,
"Brookie, stand still. Don't move."
There was no water in the ditch, just a deep layer of damp leaves and weeds. Right between the two travellers, a snake reared its head out of the scaly coils, hissing venomously. Wide-eyed with horror, Armel whispered,
"Brookie, I think it's Nada. What do we do now?"
The otter maid had been studying the reptile carefully. Slowly she took the ration packs from her shoulder. As she did this, Brookie appeared to be striking up a conversation with the snake.
"Well, are you an adder?"
Its head swiveled to face her.
"I am death to all beasts."
Brookie seemed quite fascinated by this declaration.
"Are you really? Well, what can we do for you, Mr. Death?"
The snake slithered toward Brookie, its forked tongue flickering.
"I like to eat things."
As soon as the reptile had its back to her, Armel began inching her paw slowly towards the sword hilt. However, there was no need for any action on her part, because of what Brookie did next. The otter maid smiled engagingly at the snake.
"You like to eat things. And don't we all? Listen, we've got lots of nice victuals with us. Why not try some? She swung both the ration packs with lightning speed. Four hefty blows landed forcibly on the snake's head, leaving it slack-coiled and totally senseless. Armel struggled up and ran to her friend. "Oh, Brookie, I thought the adder was going to kill you. How wonderfully brave you were, attacking it just like that." The young otter looked up from the packs, which she was checking for damage. "Wonderful brave, my granny's apron, you great fluffy-tailed buffer. Don't you know the difference betwixt an adder and a grass snake? Mr. Deathy," Armel stammered. But I didn't know. I thought it was poison." Brookie scoffed. "Just look at his back. The thing hasn't got a diamond pattern. Adders have diamond patterns along their back. Grass snakes only have markings on their sides. Look." She wiped the unconscious reptile's back off with her claw hem. There, beneath a layer of ditch mud and rotten leaves, was a black V-marked head and zigzag marks of an adder. Brookie thought this was hilarious. "Silly me, it was an adder after all. Well, the food looks all right, so there's no harm done, really, except to Mr. Death there. He'll have a verdict that should last him until midsummer. Let's get out of this slimy place. I never liked hanging about in ditches." Armel joined in the spirit of the thing. No beast could stay gloomy for long in the company of the happy otter. "Neither have I. Let's leave Mr. Death to his nap." Laughing together, they climbed out of the ditch and headed into the woodlands. They'd not gone far when Brookie halted, scratching her ear. "How will we know we're going southwest? Not too bright on all that northing and southing business." Armel reassured her. "It's quite simple, really. The sun rises in the east, you see, so if you have it directly at your back, you'll be going west. South is off to the left if west is straight ahead, so we take the middle course and we'll be travelling southwest. Get it?" Brookie shook her head. "I'm still as baffled as when you started explaining. So you'll be the pathfinder, and I'll deal with any hungry snakes that we come across." They trekked all night until the dawn sunrays told them they were on the right track. Armel rubbed her eyes. She was feeling quite tired. "Walk by night and rest by day. That's what we were told. So let's make camp, have a spot of breakfast and a nice little snooze. Does that sound like a good idea?" Brookie grinned from ear to ear. "Do you hear me, Captain? How about camping at the base of that big elm over there?" They spread their cloaks and opened the ration packs. Armel opened one parcel that contained 2 wheaten loaves. She bit into one, passing her friend the other. This tastes good. Look, it has cheese, mushrooms, carrots and onions baked inside. What's yours like?" Brookie took a healthy mouthful from her loaf, which was sweetened rye bread. "This is full of thick honey, chopped hazelnuts, cooked apple and blackberry. Good old Friar Gleeson. He's given us 2 courses in 2 loaves. Tell you what, we'll swap when we're halfway through them. Then we'll have hard main meal and a dessert together." Armel found one of the drink flasks and 2 beakers. "I'll go and find some water to mix with Burlap's fruit syrup. There might be a stream or a spring nearby." The squirrel maid was not gone for long. Brookie was dozing gradually. She opened one eye when her friend returned. "Well, did you find some water?" Armel slumped down beside her. "No, I couldn't see any around, but I did find something." The otter maid's eyelids began drooping. "What was that?" Armel yawned. "The path from last night. It runs straight with the direction we're going. We've been struggling along through the woodlands all night, not knowing that the path was hardly a stone's throw away. It must run southwest for quite a bit. So, Miss Puddinhead, who said we should take to the woods because the path goes straight to the south?" The otter maid imitated a snoring sound. "Not me. It must have been you. Don't disturb me. I'm asleep." Armel laid down, shielding her eyes from the sunlight. "It was you, you great fat-tailed fibber. Good night." Brookie wrinkled her nose. "No, you mean good day." Armel smiled. "Don't speak to me. I'm not talking to you." Brookie snuggled down into her cloak. "I'm not speaking. I'm sleeping. Don't wake me, please." The day was both warm and pleasant, heralding a fine summer to come. Butterflies and wood moths fluttered noiselessly through the tranquil woodland glade. Bees droned soothingly amid small blossoms of white campion, whitlaw grass, sweet rudruff and blackberry. By mid-morn the ground was dry and sun-kissed. Partially shaded by the foliage of the big elm, the travellers enjoyed their first sleep outside the protection of Redwall Abbey. Morning drifted serenely into noontide, shifting the shadows as the sun began its descent from midday zenith. Brookie, the more volatile of the two, awoke around mid-noon, with sun shining in her eyes and an inquisitive yellow brimstone butterfly fluttering about her half-open mouth. The otter maid blew it away and tried to resume her slumber. The combination of daylight and a growing thirst, however, kept her awake. She looked across at Armel, still sleeping peacefully, wrapped loosely in her cloak. Brookie sat up, yawning loudly and heaving gusty sighs.
The moment she saw that the sounds were making Armel stir, she began complaining.
"Oh, it's not a bit of use. I can't sleep any more."
Her friend awakened, blinking.
Why? What's the matter?"
The Ottomaid cast aside her cloak and stood up.
"'Cause the flaming sun's in my eyes, and I'm being trampled on by all sorts of insects, and my tongue's like a baked sandal. I'm thirsty, aren't you?"
To her surprise, Armel arose and began folding her cloak.
"Aye, let's go out and find some water. I could do with a drink."
They broke camp and walked to within sight of the path, heading southwest alongside the ditch. Before long, Brookie stopped. She held up a paw.
"Listen, can you hear the sound of water? Come on, pal, it's coming from down that way."
It was an underground rivulet, trickling out of the ditch side. Armel tested the water. It was clear and cold. She filled both their beakers about a quarter full with Burlap Cellarhog's fruit syrup, then topped them up with the water. Brookie stirred hers with a twig and took a good swig.
"Good old Burlap, it's delicious."
Armel also found the taste of the mixture very pleasant. They each drank 2 beakers before their thirst was satisfied. Both travellers, feeling quite refreshed at last, were ready to continue their journey. Brookie suddenly vanished momentarily, then returned carrying a long, thick branch.
"This is the very thing we need. No more falling down ditches and fighting others for us, pal. What's this?"
Pushing one end of the branch down firmly into the bed of the ditch, she vaulted across onto the path.
"Oh, clever young me, eh? Come on, miss, your turn."
She pushed the branch back to Armel, who took a tight grip on it and swung herself easily over the ditch. The squirrel maid was both surprised and pleased with herself.
"My goodness, I'm getting quite daring. What would Abbot Humble have said if he could have seen me leaping a ditch?"
Brookie patted Armel on the back.
"He'd have said, 'Well done. Right, let's step out now. Got plenty of daylight left, and it's a good straight path.'"
Between them, the pair covered a fair distance. The shadows were starting to lengthen as they marched down the path, with Brookie singing out in a fine melodious voice to keep them in step.
"There was an old otter who lived down a well. The truth of this tale I can readily tell. His wife and 10 young uns lived with him as well, and they dwelt there together for quite a long spell. Left, right, 2, 3, march along in step with me. Such an odd situation did you ever see? Then one frosty morning there came a good mole. He waggled his tail as he peeped down the hole. 'Come down,' cried the otter, 'and live here with me. For 'tis cosy and warm, and the rent is quite free.' Left, right, 2, 3, down went the mole and his family. His wife and his grandpa and Modibans 3. The very same evening there came a poor mouse, who the wind and the rain had washed out of his house. The otter took pity and cried out, 'Come in, you won't take up much room, 'cause you look pretty thin.' Left, right, 2, 3, the mouse went down right happily, with 5 uncles, 6 aunts, and a pet bumblebee. Then who should turn up but a fat little flea? He stood all alone, is a sad sight to see. He called down to the otter, 'Move over a bit, 'cause I see a small space where I might just fit.' Left, right, 2, 3, there's a tale my mother told me, but I made up the bit about the flea 'cause I'm a bigger liar than she." The white fox Captain Shard and his 20 assorted foxes and ermine were sitting on the ditch side sucking wood pigeon eggs. Furwell and Bruegel, 2 of his forward scouts, had come across a number of nests visible through the boughs of a sessile oak. The birds flew off when they began climbing the tree, leaving their nests and clusters of eggs at the vermin's disposal. Shard's mate, Frita, pierced an egg deftly with her claw and sucked it dry. Tossing the empty shell into the ditch, the vixen winked slyly at Shard. "A good spot to camp for the night, methinks." Shard chose a fresh egg.
"Aye, but Lord Gulo ordered that we should travel both night and day to reach a Redwall place."
Frita snorted scornfully. "Lord Gulo, eh? Is Lord Gulo here watching thee? Look at these weary beasts. Ye need some rest too. One night here will make little difference, Shard. Gulo need never know." Shard picked up a piece of grit from between his paw pads. "Thou art right. We rest here tonight and continue on the morrow." He raised his voice to the ermine scouts. "Furwell and Bruegel, take bows and arrows. Go to those nests you found and see if the birds have returned. The rest of you, find some place close by to rest until dawn." Both scouts went forward up to the path where they'd found the nests in the oak. The rest of the vermin sought out sleeping places, grateful for the break they'd been given. Shard was about to settle down in some ferns on the woodland side of the ditch when 2 ermine scouts came scurrying back. Both of them held paws to their mouths as a sign for every beast to stay quiet. Shard leapt the ditch in a single bound. He hissed to the pair, "What is it?" Furwell rubbed her paws gleefully. "Captain, 2 creatures, mates coming hither. A stream dog and a tree mouse. We saw them before they saw us." Shard gave orders in a hoarse whisper. "All of you, down in the ditch, be silent and look to thy weapons. 2 beasts are coming. I want them taken alive." Armel and Brookie had finished singing, but they were still stepping along very well. The squirrel maid unwrapped her cloak and put it on. "It's not as warm as it was this afternoon. When shall we sleep, do you think?" Brookie shrugged. "When we feel tired, I suppose. We might as well keep going till we do." A slight sound from somewhere on the path behind them caused Armel to look back over her shoulder. 4 ermine, 2 carrying spears, the other 2 with shafts notched to their bowstrings, stood on the path watching them. She tugged at Brookie's paw. "Look what's behind us." The Ottomaid did not have to. 4 white foxes, armed with sickle-shaped swords, came out of the ditch to block their forward path. Brookie whispered out of the corner of her mouth. "I didn't have to, pal. Look what's in front of us. Listen, when I give you a nod, we'll cut and run into the woods." A voice sounded close to the Ottomaid. "Too late, Strimtuck. 1 move and you're both dead beasts." More vermin emerged from the ditch and the woodland surrounding Armel and Brookie. Captain Shard stepped out. "Take them and bind them tight,"